The NFL draft was last night, so you know we got to talk about it. Let's start at the top. Bryce Young goes number 1 overall. Not surprising at all if you listen to the podcast that I dropped yesterday. It's what I predicted. I had him going number 1. And I said that the draft would start at 2 because who had any idea what the Houston Texans were going to do? And I think it's safe to say nobody had any idea what the Houston Texans were going to do. And what they did was incredible. Loved it. Okay, so originally all the rumors going into the draft were that the Texans wanted to take Will Anderson at number 2. That's what they wanted to do. But then the later they got in the draft process, the owner steps in and says, no. You're taking a quarterback. If C.J. Stroud's there at 2, that's who you're to take. And the GM was like, fine. We'll take a quarterback at 2. But I'm getting my guy Will Anderson. For this new defensive head coach, that's defensive minded that I just hired. DeMeco Ryans, however you say it. Coach Ryans, whatever his first name is, who cares? He's like, I'm getting him his guy. So they trade up from 12 for the 3rd pick, and they take Will Anderson Jr. They got who could arguably be the 2 best players in this class. Like we could look back in 5 years and be like, this 2023 draft single-handedly won the Texans a Super Bowl. And then that may be a bit of a stretch. That's a tall order. That's if these 2 guys absolutely meet and exceed expectations. I love what the Texans did. I love the aggressiveness. They gave up a pretty decent amount for that 3rd pick. Obviously, the Cardinals traded back to 12, and then they traded with the Lions again. They gave up a first-round pick next year. I mean, they gave up quite a bit to get their guy, but they got their guy. And we will see how things go with them from there. We stay in the AFC South with the 4th pick, Anthony Richardson. I figured that the Colts would take him. I know everybody was saying Will Levis, but living here in Indy, there was some ideas that it was a smokescreen, and obviously it was. We'll talk about the fall of Will Levis here in a minute. But Anthony Richardson goes 4th. I don't think he could have ended up in a better place. Shane Steichen, a big part of why Jalen Hurts succeeded, creating an offense that perfectly complemented his skill set. He's going to be able to do the same thing with Anthony Richardson. Colts fans need to know you are in it for the long haul. Who knows what's going to happen next with this team? They have a lot of holes, but this is a really good start to their draft. Chris Ballard, great pick. Way to take a swing. Very excited to see what Anthony Richardson turns into. Definitely has the highest ceiling of all the quarterbacks available. 5th, we have the Seahawks, who had an outstanding draft. I love the Seahawks draft. Their first round it couldn't have gone any better. They grabbed the best defensive back available in Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois. Just a great prospect. So glad to see him go first amongst all the defensive backs. And then at 20, they grab arguably the best receiver. I've got him at 2. I think he's the 2nd best receiver in this draft. Personally, I prefer Quentin Johnston out of TCU, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is perfect in that Seattle system. He's going to be a great complementary receiver to DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, a guy who can go over the middle, a guy who has some speed, a guy who, if Lockett or Metcalf were to get hurt, could slide out onto the outside, because I'm assuming he's going to do a lot of work from the slot, just based off of what we know about Lockett and Metcalf and what they're good at. So really, really love their draft. Now, before I continue on and get to some other drafts that I really love, really there's only one more team I'm going to talk about. That's the Eagles. But before I get to that, let's talk about Will Levis. I sat here on this channel and made a video talking about all the different NFL quarterbacks. You can go back and watch it if you want. And how Will Levis concerned me. Not super accurate. Mobile, but not like super mobile. I don't really know. People saying he's the next Josh Allen. Saying that he could be, right? You got to develop him. You have to develop him, but doesn't feel pressure very well. That was the biggest thing on film that really jumped, was his inability to feel pressure. And look, if you can't feel pressure at the NFL level, man, you're going to turn the football over all over the place. You're going to fumble a lot. Look, you can't play quarterback in the NFL if you're going to turn the ball over. So therefore, you can't play quarterback in the NFL if you aren't accurate. If you don't feel pressure, he's not accurate and he doesn't feel pressure. You have to be able to do both of those things, and he doesn't, and that's a major issue. And I think that's a large part of why he fell. He went from potentially being the number 2 overall pick, potentially being the number 4 overall pick, to not even getting drafted in the first round. Part of me feels for the kid. Part of me doesn't. But yeah, he's definitely the biggest loser of the first round. Now, moving back to the winners, the Eagles get Jalen Carter, who's probably the number 1 prospect in the draft. He obviously dropped because of the arrests and everything like that. And then probably the 3rd or 4th best edge rusher in this draft, and Nolan Smith, a guy who was in several mock drafts, is going number 10 to the Eagles. I mean, just wow. They have so many elite defensive linemen down there, or up there in Philly. I just don't know how you're going to block these guys. They've got so many dudes who can get after the quarterback. They're very similar to San Francisco in that regard. But yeah, I thought they had a great first round. Things just kind of broke their way. I can't believe Nolan Smith dropped all the way to 31. I can't believe that. It's wild. I loved the Dalton Kincaid pick by the Bills. They need somebody who can take some of the receiving duties off of Stephon Diggs. Dalton Kincaid's the best receiving tight end in this draft, a guy out of Utah. Big, fast, great hands, can catch it over the middle, can make contested catches on the outside as well. Just an outstanding talent. Love to see them go get him. The Chargers going to get Quentin Johnston I thought was interesting, because they've got plenty of receiving talent already, and they're adding another big receiver to that receiving room. And now to close it out, the biggest loser of the draft, a team that I was really excited about, a team that I think is a dark horse to win the NFC still. The Detroit Lions. They originally have the number 6 overall pick. They trade back to 12 and 18. Oh my gosh. The 12th pick, they take Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. First of all, you don't usually pick that high on a running back, ever. Pair that with the fact that they had the number 6 overall pick, and they could have taken the best college running back we have seen since Saquon Barkley at 6 and Bijan Robinson, and they didn't. If they had stayed at 6 and taken Bijan Robinson, would I have liked the pick? No, I'd have been like, I don't like, using a running back that early, especially when you already have 2 good running backs on your roster. But it's Bijan Robinson. This is a really good back. Like I said, this is the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon Barkley, so I understand it. I understand wanting to grab this extremely talented player. But they trade back, and they take Jahmyr Gibbs, who may not have even gone in the first round. A guy who's going to go, late 1, early 2. And which raises the question, why didn't they just take him at 18? Because at 18, they wanted to take Jack Campbell, a linebacker who can't play on third downs because he can't cover. A linebacker who had 3 sacks in 4 years. Maybe the 5th best linebacker in this class. Maybe. They take him? I don't understand. I don't understand, but we have to keep in mind. I'm going to close out with this, and then I'm going to tell you the biggest winner of the draft. We have to keep in mind that we don't know how these classes turn out for another few years. We have these knee-jerk reactions, and then we look up in 5 years, and it's like, oh, that draft class was terrible, or, ooh, wow, I thought that draft class was bad. It was actually really good. Take, for example, the Seahawks. The year that they drafted Russell Wilson, people ripped their draft to shreds. Multiple outlets giving them an F grade on their draft, and then they win the Super Bowl with most of those guys being an important part of their roster. So we don't know. We take guesses. But look, you don't use a first round pick on a running back at 12 when you have other needs, especially in your secondary. They very easily could have taken Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, the second best corner in this draft class, but no, instead they wanted to take a running back. And then they take an off-ball linebacker at 18. That's just not even like when they have other needs. I feel like it's just a poor use of picks. But as I said, we won't know for another couple years. We'll have an idea about 8 games in, and then we'll be able to make a more knowledgeable assessment. But yeah, I don't like their draft. Jeez, Detroit. Why do you have to be Detroit about everything? Finally, the biggest winner of the draft, Will Levis' sister, Kelly Levis, picked up like 1,500 followers on the gram last night with all those TV appearances. Congratulations to her. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. Let me know who your team took, if you like their pick, if you don't like their pick. Let me know your thoughts. Stay subscribed. Subscribe. We're obviously doing a lot of NBA playoff stuff right now. Game 6 is tonight between the Warriors and Lakers. Gonna have a video out on that either early tomorrow morning or really late tonight. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, day 1, round 1 of the NFL draft is over. Should finish up this weekend. Make sure you subscribe here to catch all the news and all the fantastic opinions so you sound smarter than your friends.